G'day, folks. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to do a redo of the 2021 AFL Draft. So I'll just do a top 10 power rankings. I'll also do the same with the 2022 draft. So what you'll find, there is one change since my November 2022 draft power rankings. So I'll be interested to see some opinions on that change. And then also what I'll do is I'll combine the top 10 of, I guess, my current power rankings from 2021 and 2022 and make out of those, I guess, a combined top 20. So, yeah, hopefully you enjoy. Okay, so for my 2021 top 10 rankings redone. So, it's a surprise number one, I would imagine, for a lot of people, but I'd actually be going Sam Darcy if I was to redo the 2021 draft as of today. So, the reason why I slightly prefer Darcy to Dacos and Horne-Francis, and I think it's a clear top three, at least it would be on my board, is with Darcy, seeing what he did in his first year and the continued year-on-year rate of improvement, plus the continued growth in height, I'm looking at Darcy as a long-term monster. So my personal tip is he can become the best key position player in the competition. So whether as a forward, he could be the best key back if you wanted to be in defence, but ultimately I think he'll be the best key position player in the comp. So that's what I'm betting on with Darcy, because when you've got the production, the rate of improvement, the mix of attributes, that's the beautiful mix that can create the ultimate key position players at the end of the day. Nick Dacos, he comes at number 2. He's obviously the most advanced and best performed to this stage. The one critique with Dacos is that he'll need to develop that contested side to the game. And without that, it's going to really, I guess, cap his upside from being one of that best, say, 1 to 3 type midfielders in the future. So I do think at some point or another, Dacos will transition into the midfield. Whether it's this year, it's a bit of an unknown. We had the preseason match where he was playing in defence, which was a little disappointing, because he had the practice match where he was in the midfield and looked great. So, yeah, we'll have to see how that progression goes with Dacos. But yeah, I'm predicting him in the long run to be a mid-forward and one of the highest production, if not the highest production in the comp. And with his hurt factor, well, that's obviously going to be huge. But yeah, he will need to develop that contested side if he really wants to be one of the uber elites of the comp, as you'd say, with a Dusty or a Danger from that sort of previous generation. With a Horne-Francis, here's another where I'd say, again, as with Dacos, Darcy, he has the upside to be the best in the draft if all goes well. Obviously, a disappointing first year, and there were several reasons behind that. So you had the injury, you had obviously being sort of in a situation that didn't suit him particularly well. So that first year obviously didn't work out all that well. But with that said, I'm very confident in Horne-Francis's future. So whether we're looking at what he was doing in the Sandful, particularly the Sandful finals in that draft year, he was dominating. He was the best at that level of competition, and he played better football at that stage than he did at any stage with North Melbourne. So I'm immensely confident that he has multiple gears that he can move up. And I guess comparatively where he's favourable to a Dacos is he's got that contested side. Then he's got an even sort of better burst of speed and great aerially. So he's one of those guys where mid and forward, he's going to have a huge impact in the long run in both positions. So yeah, I'm really optimistic about his future, and I think he'll take another step in his development this year. Whether he's necessarily going to prove he's that top 3 player in the draft this coming year, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, certainly in the long run, I think, yeah, it's really going to work out well for him at Port Adelaide. So watch out, because he's got the talent, and it's not just offensive talent. He can really bring it defensively as well. So he's someone where he really impacts games heavily in a number of facets. So watch out with Horne-Francis, because the first year of watching at AFL level, I think you'll find yourself quite deceived compared to what he's going to dish up in the future. Finn Callaghan, look, I really like the look of what he's doing in the preseason. Had I completed this at the end of last year, I probably would have had him a few spots down from here. I would have had Rochelle at least ahead of him, possibly even Martin. But I'm liking the signs of what I'm seeing this preseason from Callaghan. So he looks set for a breakout year. And the thing I'd say to watch with him is I think in combination with Tom Green, he'll prove to be an absolute deadly 1-2 punch where you'll have Green winning first possession, dishing it out. You'll have Callaghan on the move ready to receive. So, watch out for that this year because I think we're going to be seeing a lot of that just to preempt what I suspect will really be happening quite often. Josh Rochelle had a really good first year and I think he's going to keep improving. So really good forward, but he can push through the midfield as well. So I think there'll be more of that incorporation through the midfield in the future as well, because he can actually, despite being that sort of skilled forward, he's actually got that first possession winning capability. So really excited about his future as well. Nick Martin, preseason supplemental period. What do I always say? In hindsight, there is always a mature ager who is at least a top 20 player in any draft. So, and Nick Martin appears to be that at least one from 2021. We could see more for all we know from this draft. So he was one who was certainly available, and that'll be contentious in including him, I suppose, in this list. But he is still of that, I guess, broader 2021 draft class because that was the year ultimately he was eligible for being taken. So it's a different way of looking at the draft, but I look at it a lot more holistically than a lot of other people will in reviewing drafts. So to fit him in with, I guess, those that were drafted in 2021, well, he's definitely there for me. And great first year and really has that upward trajectory of improvement. I had absolutely no suspicion that he would be this good in his first year. He showed signs, obviously, in the waffle, but nothing like this. He was more just a talented forward at that time, but really has sort of come on for Essendon sort of more as that outside mid. So, really exciting player, and I think he'll even take a few more steps in the coming years. And one note quickly as well with mature ages is that there's an assumption that they're a lot more developed, therefore they're not going to have as much sort of, I guess, ongoing improvement from the point onwards that they're drafted versus, say, an 18-year-old coming into the system. Well, I think Nick Martin will be one of many to prove that assumption incorrect, and I think he'll have a number of years more of improvement. So really watch out closely for that. Because when you look through those best mature ages, and I can show it in future videos as well with a good number of examples, it's very noticeable. Josh Ward, I think he's really ready for a breakout year. I think he'll take another step forward this year, and I think he'll become a really good midfielder in the long term. So doesn't necessarily have as many tricks as some of the others, but just a good all-round mid who I think will be a really important player for Hawthorn. So watch for that next step this year. Neil Erasmus, I'm of the belief that he's going to come good. So we have to remember that he has a later year birthday, so he's one of the younger players drafted from the 2021 pool, and he's got the attributes. He's got the contested ball winning, he's got the marking. Over the off-season, as I understand it, he's really built that endurance base up. So I think he's got a good future. Whether the breakout years this year, we'll have to wait and see, but I think he'll be a really good sort of combo mid forward, and he's got the scope to push up this list, but I don't think he'll be recognised even necessarily this year as a top 10 player from this draft, but I think maybe give it another 1 or 2 years, and I think that'll change, honestly. So a name to watch out for, and for Fremantle fans to get optimistic about. So that's probably how I would term it. Josh Gibcus, this is the first one that's really surprised me from this list. Didn't really like what I saw from him in his draft year, honestly. I found that he was too defensively geared and didn't go for enough intercept marks. But despite that, he actually showed signs in his first year and showed, I guess, that improvement. So that's really what he needed to do. And look, with key position players, you can't make assumptions. But fortunately with Gibcus, he has taken that step in the right direction where, look, by AFL standards, he's not yet a prolific interceptor or contested mark or anything by any standard. But he looked capable at the levels. So given he's done that as a first-year player, I'm more than happy to give him the recognition of a top 10 spot in this list at this point in time. And then I guess for the last spot, I was really actually debating the two Saints NGA boys, so Mitch Owens and Marcus Windhager. Owens I really like the look of, and it looks like he's set for a breakout year this year. So is that it looks like he's going to start the year mostly forward, but he's got the scope absolutely to push through the midfield as well. So really exciting piece, and unlucky to make it was Marcus Windhager. And he's the second player from this list that's really proven me wrong. He was someone where a year back I was sort of thinking I just wouldn't want to draft him. His draft year was terrible. He couldn't even get sort of, I think it was something like 10 disposals a game. He wasn't even capable of that. Yeah, there were injury things, but look, nonetheless, it wasn't great. Obviously had the athleticism, so that was something, but yeah, credit to him. Great development in his first year and became a capable tagger, and yeah, showing the signs that, look, maybe with his mix of attributes, maybe he can actually take that next step and become a good piece. So yeah, I'm really excited about his future, and look, if Martin wasn't there, Windhager would be the number 10. Like, it just depends on if you want to include the preseason supplemental period. I've got a different methodology of redoing drafts than other people would, but for those that, I guess, want to go the traditional route of those who are actually picked on draft day, Windhager would, in that scenario, make that top 10. So, but full credit to him. He's one of the really good up-and-coming young Saints. So, yeah, Saints fans have two players just from this draft to get excited about, it's fair to say. Now, the 2022 draft, this is the interesting one. So I've kept my top 9 the exact same as I did on draft day. So we haven't even seen the first season. Why would there be room for change? So basically what I've done, so you can see, obviously, where they were picked. So I'm pretty happy with these 9. And look, based on preseason signs, I could make a case for Mackenzie being higher than this. And then we'll sort of have to see how the others work out. But my new number 10 is this. So I had Elijah Sardis. I've now gone Ruben Ginbey. So seeing the rate of improvement continued over the off-season, and then seeing sort of how he's gone so far for West Coast, it looks like he's going to establish himself right away as a really good mid. So I could make an argument that he's going to shoot up this list as with Mackenzie. And what's really going to suit both of them and possibly propel them more than others up this list is they've ultimately got opportunities because they're on bad teams. You've got Mackenzie on Hawthorn. Well, they had the worst midfield in the comp last year statistically, and you've lost Mitchell, you've lost O'Meara. So with that being the case, there are going to be opportunities aplenty for Mackenzie. And he looks set to have a really good year based on the signs he's showing. And then West Coast, same story. Their midfield is terrible. It's aging. There's no superstars in there. But again, Ginbey looks really fantastic through there. So, yeah. So, yeah, definite scope to shoot up this list. And, yeah, with both Mackenzie and Ginbey, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see them sort of top 5 players from this draft. So, we'll have to see how that goes. But yeah, for a merged 2021 and 2022 draft, so this is really just a best combination and basically mixing the two drafts together. You can see right up the top, you've got a 1 and 2, so obviously 2021 represented, and then also a 4th player. So it really goes to show the top end strength of that 2021 draft. Ultimately, but Ashcroft does belong in that company. And this is why I wrote an article for ESPN at the end of last year covering, well, is Dacos or Ashcroft better? It is that close. It's a 1A, 1B scenario. Even Horne-Francis I include in that same combination, or that same sort of group as that sort of level of talent. And if I was to make it into a tier list, well, I've got a clear top 4 here if that's of interest to people as well. And then I've sort of got, I guess you can call it a next group down. And within this group down, there's still a lot to play out, but I see a lot of evenness. There's a substantial amount of talent here, and a lot of talent I'm really excited about. And you could really extend this group down. I'd even go probably as far as roughly, I'd probably go about the 18 mark. I reckon that group, sort of 18 and above, so I guess 5 to 18, I look at them as pretty even overall. I'd be sort of equally happy just about with anyone from that group. It's a really strong group there. And then you've got sort of the next few that sort of fit in and fill out those spots. I decided to go the 21 and 22 as well. just because I'd mentioned Windhager and Sardis as well. But yeah, from I guess this, if you want to call it best 22, the best 22 from 2021 and 2022, well, the Saints have got the most ultimately. You could also make the case for North Melbourne because they did draft a few. So obviously Horne-Francis, but he went to Port Adelaide. And then you've got Sheasel and Wardlaw. So that's the best contribution within the top 10. But of course, with Horne-Francis moving to Port Adelaide, well, you can't really include it as the most that is at least still existing with the club. So, but I guess I'll give that partial credit if you want. And then none, well, you've got Carlton, Melbourne and Sydney. But why is that the case? Well, none of those clubs had top 10 picks from either of the drafts. So you can't really knock them. It's pretty well to be expected ultimately. So, yeah. Thanks for watching, folks. And yeah, let me know in the comments section below who would be in your top 10 from the 2021 draft and how would your opinions differ to my own at this stage? I'd be interested to know. But yeah, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for future updates, and I'll see you in the next video.